Now, meanwhile, as Israel waits for the official results to come out, there's an overflow of speculations over future coalitions based on what we know so far.
I think the polls look good so far, the exit polls, but we know it's very early and we know that it's a fragile majority. And we hope that in a few hours we'll be happier and more secure with the results. But we're optimistic, it looks good so far.
Just 67.2% of eligible voters cast their ballots Tuesday in Israel's fourth repeat election, the lowest voter turnout since 2009. But roughly 90% of the votes have now been tallied, and so far, with the exception of the Likud, which is expected to gain upwards of 30 seats, the numbers are actually quite surprising. The Yesh Atid party is earning fewer than expected with 17, while Blue and White rose to a surprising 8, despite predictions of potentially nothing. Similarly, the extreme right religious Zionism and the Islamist Ram party gained at least 6 and 5 seats respectively, far more than expected, while Yamina and the New Hope parties each fell below expectations with 7 and 6. Then, about as expected, the religious Shas and UTJ took around 9 and 7 seats, followed by Labour and Israel Beitenu with 7 each as well. And finally, Meretz and the Arab Joint List, which both have 6 seats. So who will be in the government, though? Well, despite a very strong result for the right early on, as votes came in, the pro-Netanyahu bloc dropped below the 61 seats necessary for a coalition, meaning hard compromises will have to be made or fifth elections will be assured. And yet, lines are still being drawn. New Hope and Meretz members vowing again this morning never to join a Netanyahu government, and Yesh Atid's Yair Lapid going further.
אבל נכון לרגע זה לא תוקם במדינת ישראל ממשלה על קולותיהם של הכהניסטים הגזענים והחשוכים. התחלתי כבר הערב לנהל שיחות עם חלק ממנהיגי גוש השינוי. אני כמובן אמשיך בימים הקרובים לנהל איתם את השיחות האלה. אנחנו נחכה, אני אומר שוב, לתוצאות האמת.
Meanwhile, Yamina leader Naftali Bennett, assumed to be the so-called kingmaker, still saying that he'll do whatever is best for the country and to avoid fifth elections. Similarly, Islamist Ram leader Mansour Abbas, increasingly pragmatic, saying that he's willing to negotiate with both sides, anyone interested in forming a government. The Likud, on the other hand, now reaching out to rival parties in light of the numbers, but they're divided on just which parties to include as potential partners, particularly Ram, which might be necessary to reach 61. Perhaps most ironic, though, is that despite Netanyahu's best efforts to renege on the deal, rival Gantz may still end up as prime minister. Their rotation agreement, having never been nullified, would transfer the premier's office to Benny Gantz in November, and the only way for Netanyahu to avoid this, then, is the ratification of a new government now, or the gambling on fifth elections this summer, in unlikely hopes that Gantz loses ground.